Hi class. I hope you all had a wonderful Easter weekend, a wonderful long weekend. This video is to check your work from your quiz from last week. I want you to use this as an opportunity to review for your test that is upcoming. Just a hint, your test is very similar to your quiz, okay? So whatever you don't get correct on this, make sure you go over it, go over the procedure that I'm showing you to make sure you know how to work out these type problems. So our first one is a graphing problem. We have a parallelogram. The vertices are at 3, 4, -1, 4, and -3, 1. They ask us to find the fourth vertex. Okay, so what I did was I could tell this was going to be the top of my parallelogram, so I decided to see how many spaces are between. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if this one is 4 long, that means this side has to be 4 long. 1, 2, 3, 4. That means my final vertex is at 1, 1. Okay? Number 2 asks about a cube. Now this little box here that I have is not a cube, but it's close. So I looked at the faces. The faces are the sides, remember? On a cube there are 6 faces. Edges, that means where the faces come together. So I have 4 around the side and then 4 on the bottom and 4 on the top. That gives me 12 edges. Vertices are the corners, remember? The corners. 8 corners on a cube. Okay? Volume. Volume is length times width times height. So I did 3 centimeters times 4 centimeters times 5 centimeters, and I got 60 centimeters cubed. 35% as a reduced fraction and a decimal. 35% means per 100. 35 over 100 reduces to 7 over 20. 35 hundredths, if I can say this as a fraction, I can write it as a decimal. 35 hundredths, 0.35. 3y equals 7. If we're missing a factor and we know the product, I can take the product and divide it by the factor I already know to find the missing factor. 7 divided by 3. 3 goes into 7 2 times. That leaves me with 1 left over. So our answer is 2 1/3. My remainder over my divisor, 2 1/3. Circle, radius of 3 inches. Circumference, pi times diameter is our formula. So pi times radius is 3, that means diameter is 6. 3.14 times 6 inches gives me 18.84 inches. Area, pi r squared. It already gave me r, 3 inches. 3 squared is 9. 3 times 3 is 9. 3.14 times 9 inches squared gives me 28.26 inches squared. The inches are squared here because I did 3 inches times 3 inches to get r squared. Okay. 7 divided by 1 3/4. Remember, I need them both to look like fractions. 7 over 1 divided by 1 times 4 is 4 plus 3 is 7 over 4. Now I have fraction divided by fraction, which means fraction times reciprocal. 7 over 1 times 4 over 7. This reduces with this, and I'm left with 4 over 1, which is the same thing as 4. 1 1/2 times 2 2/3. Again, I need them to be only fractions. 1 1/2 turns into 3/2. 2 2/3 turns into 8/3. So this reduces with this. 8 over 2 is 4. 5 1/2 minus 1 2/3. So I decided to make them into having a common denominator of 6. So it becomes 5 3/6 minus 1 4/6. But I can't take 4/6 away from 3/6, so I need to do some regrouping. I turned my 5 into 4 6/6 because that is the same value as 5. 4 6/6 combined with the 3/6 that are already there gives me 4 9/6. Now I can take away 1 4/6, and I'm left with 3 5/6. 1/4 plus 2/8. I'm going to use a common denominator of 8, so my 2/8 doesn't even have to change. 1/4 becomes 2/8 plus 2/8 equals 4/8, reduces to 1/2. Page 2, number 12. Between which two consecutive whole numbers is the square root of 40? 40 is not a perfect square. The closest perfect square below 40 is 36. The closest perfect square above 40 is 49. The square root of 36 is 6. The square root of 49 is 7. So the square root of 40 is somewhere between 6 and 7. 1800ths divide by the square root of 144. I rewrote that as 1800ths divide by 12 because the square root of 144 is 12. So 1800ths divide by 12. When I do my dividing out, my answer is 15 thousandths. I had to add a 0. Okay. Number 14. 18 divide by 0.6. 18 divide by 0.6. I have a decimal in my divisor, so I needed to make it a whole number. I can multiply 0.6 by 10 to make it a whole number. That moves my decimal once to the right, but I got to do the same thing in here to 18. Move it once to the right. So now my new division problem is 180 divided by 6. Gives me an answer of 30. 5.2 times 0.04. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 5 is 20. 1, 2, 3 to the right of the decimals in my problem, so I have to have 1, 2, 3 to the right of the decimal in my answer. The answer is 208 thousandths. 8 minus 2.82. I made it 8.00 minus 2.82, and then I did my borrowing. The answer, 5 1800ths. 3/8 of 40 marbles are red. So I did my diagram. I divided it into 8 sections. I did 3 of those sections are red. I said 40 divided by 8 is 5. So 5 goes in each section. So if 3 sections are red, that means 5 sections are not red. How many marbles are not red? 5 in each section times 5 sections gives me 25 that are not red. Ratio of frogs to toads is 5 to 7. If there are 20 frogs, how many toads are there? So I made my ratio box. Frogs to toads, the ratio is 5 to 7. On my actual count, it gives me there are 20 frogs. So I want to find this. My ratio box allows me to form a proportion. 5 is to 7 as 20 is to what? You could have done your cross multiplying and gotten 28, or you could see to get from 5 to 20, I multiply by 4, so do the same thing down here. 7 times 4 is 28. Perimeter of this triangle here. Perimeter just means I got to add all the sides. 6 and 8 make 14, plus 10 is 24 centimeters. Area of the triangle. Formula for area of a triangle, base times height, divide by 2. Base times height. I choose these two as my base and my height because they form a right angle. 8 times 6 is 48 centimeters squared. Divide by 2, 24 centimeters squared. Okay, I hope you did well. If there's anything you missed, go over the procedure. If you're still struggling, email me. Let me know so that I can call you and we can go over some of this. Okay? Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye.